Well, here we are. Can you believe it? 1 year in. When we launched Dr. Phil's Merit TV and Dr. Phil Primetime, I told you it would be different. Raw, unfiltered, unafraid to go where the truth takes us, no matter how uncomfortable, complicated, or controversial. And over the past year, we've done just that. From political powerhouses and true crime exclusives, to education crisis, on-the-ground reporting, and moments that moved us. I've spoken with the people who shaped this country, tackled the issues that matter, and given a voice to those who need to be heard. Tonight, we're looking back at some of our proudest moments, moments that shocked us, moved us, made us laugh, and yes, made us think harder about the world in which we live. This is more than just a look back. It's a celebration of you, our audience, for coming along on this incredible journey. Welcome to 1 year later, Dr. Phil Primetime Rewind.
From headlines to households, from breakthrough moments to changing lives.
The Innocence Project appreciates your support more than words can say.
Now that mission continues. Dr. Phil's Merit TV, more than just a network.
3, 2.
Get my voiceover in green coming up next.
A movement, a place where information meets entertainment.
Let's do a little fact check.
Tonight, I want to hear what you think. I'm willing to let all sides come and say what they want to say, but they got to be willing to answer hard questions.
Mainstream media won't allow me on to do a live interview.
My whole life changed after that day.
And at the center of it all, Dr. Phil, tackling the issues that matter.
Our country is going to be based on merit again.
For people who care.
Dr. Phil, I didn't go to the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden, but I saw you there. You know, I don't agree with everything that I saw from every Trump supporter. It doesn't stop me from caring about you. It doesn't stop me from thinking that you're a good man and a decent human being, and you care about what's in the best interest of America.
Dr. Phil, you've been an invaluable supporter for me. You're one of the first people to give me airtime when I was heavily censored by everybody else. I'm very, very grateful to you.
Dr. Phil's gonna help spread that message, so he's a friend here today. Dr. Phil's gonna show him exactly how we do this.
When I watch your program, you have really received the trust.
We are all Americans and we stand together. Wow, what an incredible year this has been. Does it seem like a year has gone by?
It does not. No, it seems like yesterday.
I agree. In some respects, it seems like it was just yesterday. In some respects, it seems like this is all we've ever done.
True. True.
And I don't forget the 21 years. And I have to say, it was Robin's idea to start a network because we were sitting in LA in our kitchen having dinner one night, and I was really complaining about the news. It was flicking between this one and that one and the other, and I was saying, it drives me crazy that they just put so much spin, so much bias, and so much slant on this. I cannot believe the media doesn't just do what they need to do. And you made a comment right then. Do you remember that?
I do. We were eating, and I'm not sure if I even picked my head up when I said this, but he was beside me, and he did start complaining about going through the channels, couldn't find anything on the news or a news program that he could enjoy, because he kept saying, you know, they never really say the news. They don't really go down and deep dive into the news and tell it really like it is. And I seldom picked up my head. I don't even think I did. I just said, well, if you don't like it, why don't you do something about it? Why don't you do the news like you want to do it? Why don't you do all programs, news programs, whatever, like you know you can do it? If not you, then who? And I'm still just eating. And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, I think you need to do it your way, do it big. And I'm not talking about just one program a day. I'm talking about big time. And then I looked at him and I said, go big or go home. And then I went, no, I mean, go home and go big. And he then knew exactly what I meant. When I said go home, take me home or lose me forever. Let's do this in Texas. And here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. And in this year, I've traveled over 20,000 miles for interviews. We've done 193 episodes. That includes 4 town halls, hearing from people, letting them have the voice. We've had close to 50,000 audience members, including the town halls, if you can imagine that, like 46,800. And the wait list for the audience is 10,000 people long wanting to come to the shows. So it's just really amazing. And it's been fun. I mean, not everything we've covered has been fun, funny, haha, but it's been exciting, it's been challenging, and I wouldn't change a bit of it. I'm really proud of what we've done.
I'm so proud of what we've done. And I think those audiences maybe because we are doing it in Texas. So you know what? You just sit right there. Our Merit TV family is here tonight to talk all about the amazing stories you've covered this past year.
If you're a business owner, listen up now. You will not want to miss this. Outdated systems are costing you time, money, and opportunity. Thousands of companies have modernized with FYSI's AI integration and solutions. FYSI implements smart, automation, and predictive insights that sharpen your competitive edge. This is what separates billion-dollar companies from small businesses, and FYSI can help you make that leap. Don't wait. Get your free $5,000 risk assessment now with promo code Dr. Phil. That is promo code DRPHIL at fysi.com/Dr. Phil or call 800-877-4000 today. That's code Dr. Phil. Visit fysi.com/Dr. Phil or call 800-877-4000 for your free $5,000 risk assessment.
One of the things that I think our viewers really resonate with is your ability and your team's flexibility to really go where the news is happening. For example, when Hurricane Helen hit North Carolina, I want to give our viewers a look back at what happened there.
Is this a 1,000-year storm?
Yes, sir. They talk about the storms that happened in the early 1900s here, and this has surpassed that.
When I saw that the media was not paying attention to this, and it didn't seem to me that the government was paying much attention to this, I got on the phone with my team and said, guys, we need to be paying attention to this at Merit TV. Water, food, diapers, pet food, everything that we could possibly get our hands on. And I loaded my plane up with it floor to ceiling, and we took off and came here. And we started connecting with different organizations, Samaritan's Purse, for example. We want to inspire people to react. We want them to donate, send money, get in action. We want people to start moving on this. Food, water, power. We're trying to get to these in the most hard-hit, remote, isolated areas. People have lost everything.
We still don't have power or water, and we made up for a long time, but our house is okay.
You got the roof still intact, and so you're dry and...
Yeah, we're okay. A lot of people aren't.
I came to help. Let me help. I'm in a basement right now that's filled up knee deep at one point with mud. And so bucket by bucket, shovel by shovel, it's time to shovel it out.
The first phase was going to be search and recovery.
Okay, and then what's the second phase?
We're following backup with every homeowner that we touched.
Okay.
And making sure that those that stayed in place and didn't evacuate are still okay and don't have any needs. And then we'll just continue that. The mission's going to start changing, and it'll focus more on sustainability and long term.
So generators and heaters are a big thing.
Generators and heaters are going to be an extended mission. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, you get out in other parts of the country where life's normal, and they forget about what's happening back in here. Those communities are cut off. You can't get to them by road or rail. The only way you get in is by helicopter. I called Elon Musk and got hundreds and hundreds of these Starlinks to spread out among so y'all can communicate.
The government ain't even been here.
We haven't seen FEMA, we haven't seen National Guard.
We're using our helicopters, coordinating with his team and Dr. Phil to get access to more Starlinks in order to get out to these communities.
We've distributed over 1,000 of them so far, and we're going to keep spreading them out till we're just everywhere.
It's really important. And people don't ask for help here, so it's really hard.
Oh, you have to. We can't. We have to know what you need. We were driving down this gravel road, and this wonderful lady flagged us down.
I need a generator. If I had a generator, I can stay at home.
Why don't we get you one? Look here, we got a generator for you right here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get her going. We actually had one with us in our caravan, so we're already got her hooked up to a generator. She just had heart surgery, and she's here by herself. She's fallen. She's got a mark on her forehead here. But she went from just being so forlorn to being so uplifted and laughing, and I'm just so glad we stopped, so glad she flagged us down.
Love it, this just started right up.
Thank you so much.
Who could forget Sue?
Yeah. Boy, I tell you, she was something else. What a wonderful woman.
And you lit up her world, and not just Sue, but that entire community. Why was North Carolina so important for you?
Well, mainstream media was overlooking it. This was a 1,000-year storm. You don't have hurricanes up there, and this was in western North Carolina. And there were so many communities that were in the mountains up there that you couldn't get to by rail or road. There was no way to get in or out of there. We went in with water and food, and I got in touch with Elon Musk and his company and asked for a few hundred Starlinks, and he gave us like 500. And you had to have generators to make them work. We went in with generators and started them up and plugged these Starlinks in. It was their first contact with the outside world. And some of them, their families didn't know if they were alive. We met some ladies that were days, some minutes from delivering babies, and there were no doctors. Some people had to be airlifted out for surgeries and procedures. This is America.
Yeah.
And these people were completely isolated, completely cut off.
You know, the thing that you said when you were there that really resonated with me is they didn't care how I voted. I don't care how they voted. Neighbors didn't ask about political affiliations. What was the most inspirational thing that you saw?
You know, this was America at its best, Chris. It absolutely was, because there were neighbors whose houses were flooded up to the ceiling. While it was drying, they were down at a neighbor's house helping shovel mud out of a basement. And we're talking mud, not like we think about mud, we're talking mud 9 feet deep.
Wow.
in a house. And it was so interesting, people that didn't know each other, that now you would think they had gone to high school together. You'd think they had known each other all their lives. They were sharing water, they were sharing food, they were sharing labor, they were helping each other, sleeping on pallets together. It truly was America at its best.
You know, you spent a lot of time this past year at our southern border as well. In fact, at one point, you and I met down there because you wanted to see firsthand, hey, what's really going on? Let's take a look back now.
Hello, sir.
Good to see you.
Great to see you as well. We ought to get you out of it and hit some trafficking areas. You can clearly see the people carrying backpacks with camouflage clothes.
All right, we're on Smuggler's Highway, and they have stopped a load vehicle, which is a car carrying illegals. Human trafficking here.
There are Border Patrols who spend their entire shift literally tracking footprints. And they'll walk across and they'll see someone's footprints and they'll circle it and they'll track it. Here's the problem, Dr. Phil. People will come in and you think they're wearing shoes. It's a hoof print, right? So they're always trying to disguise their footprints to keep the Border Patrol, to keep DPS off the mark.
Tom Homan is a straight shooter, a no-nonsense guy who's dedicated his life to law enforcement. Let's give a warm welcome to the new border czar, Tom Homan.
Thanks for having me.
You have nothing against people that enter this country legally.
Absolutely not. This country is built on immigrants. I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti-illegal immigration. Day one, we're going to be looking for these public safety threats, arresting them, detaining them, and deporting them. There's 3 top priorities, all starting on day one. Secure the border, deportation operation, find those 300,000 children.
This is about a nation of laws, and we're enforcing those laws, and we're doing it in a humane fashion.
It's not going to be like army tanks going down the cities and looking for people different than us and do this massive neighborhood sweeps. And if anybody presses that to happen, I'll quit.
This has nothing to do with skin color, or this has to do with you broke the law and came into this country illegally, and we have a responsibility.
You guys are one of the first press ever to be in this room. We have 1,200 cameras.
So these are hidden inside the terrain?
Yes.
You see 6 guys carrying backpacks. What happens?
So once we get a hit, we deploy our own border team.
John, how many illegal immigrants have come across your property?
Border Patrol's got 500,000.
I like to say it shocks me, but it doesn't.
The problem is that the critics don't ever come down here. They come tour the areas and see what you have come now twice to see in the last several months.
We're under attack here, and they need to know that.
And thank you for putting that out.
Power deport, sex offender, dealing with children. So walking the streets of Chicago.
Are you a citizen?
My mom's a citizen.
Your mother's a citizen?
Yes.
But you're not?
Nope. Look, Dr. Phil.
Yeah? How do you know me?
No, I seen Dr. Phil, on TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've been charged with sex crimes with children?
Not really.
Not really?
Let's take them in, process and lock them up.
You had very rare exclusive access with Tom Homan as his ICE agents fanned across the city of Chicago, right? And what you saw and what you brought to our viewers in real time is the fact that these were very targeted raids. They knew who they were going after. You were in the command center, right? You saw the files on these folks.
I did, and I'll tell you what was impressive. This was a multi-agency operation with the FBI, ICE, Homeland Security, ATF, and DEA. The cooperation and coordination was incredible. And we show up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's cold. Oh my gosh, it's cold. But everybody was there, and the morale among these men and women was so inspirational. And they had one objective in mind, and that is to get the worst first. They wanted to get dangerous criminals off the street. All of this stuff that you're hearing about in the legacy media is just absolute misdirection. They're not sweeping neighborhoods. They're going in a very targeted way. They've got files on these people that they've had under surveillance for weeks. They've got rap sheets, 10, 12 pages long, violent criminals, pedophiles, child rapists, traffickers, gun runners, drug runners. They're going in after specific individuals and taking them out. Now, if they go into an apartment where they are and there are 6 people in there with them, they're going to run them and see who they are, but they're going in after very targeted individuals. It's not what you're hearing.
You've done so much this past year. Have you taken the time to look back at your calendar and think, holy smokes?
Yeah, we've traveled a lot of miles.
You really have. In fact, you were crisscrossing America on a bus. You even got in a horse and buggy to talk to real Americans who are facing real issues. I want to show you this videotape real quick.
We have packed up the Merit TV bus and headed to Pennsylvania. Why? Because people in the state could be the deciding factor for who's the next president of the United States. How's the economy here?
Grocery prices, food prices, everything's up.
So what makes you ready for a change?
Cost of food, gas, cost of living.
Yeah, so how do y'all feel about all the focus on Pennsylvania for this election?
I think every election is very important. I haven't missed an election voting for over 40 years.
Really?
I think this is a critical election, and Pennsylvania certainly is in the center of it.
We have friends, we have family who think differently, and you just have to find a way to respect each other. I mean, we're a diverse nation, and this is our process, right?
There's a lot of Amish voting.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and they usually don't vote, right?
There's a lot of them coming out this year.
There's a lot of attention to this part of the country right now with this presidential election, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
Do the Amish people vote?
too many of them don't.
What do you think about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris?
You know, Trump is the man we need in there. We've had him in there for 4 years, and he's done a great job in there.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for a house that is politically divided? I'm a Democrat and he is a Republican.
Yeah. Do you guys talk about it?
We argue about it.
Does this create friction between you two?
I never thought it would matter until this election, I think, yeah. I mean, we still love each other, but yeah, it matters to us.
Well, you heard what she said. She said, we still love each other, but. But means forget what I just said. Now I'm going to tell you what I really think. I think you should get out and make an informed vote.
That night, election night, was such a big moment for this network, was it not?
It was, and you were the star. I mean, you held that whole thing together that whole night and kept it going and kept everything reporting in a coherent way. And I think we outshined everybody that night, if I do say so myself, in no small part because of your leadership on the news floor.
Well, I appreciate that. I want to just take a minute to say thank you for not only investing in what you're doing here, but we've got a team now assembled in our nation's capital, in D.C., because all the news right now is coming out of D.C.
Let's cut to the chase. Your savings could be in serious trouble. When Elon Musk is out here warning us to brace for temporary hardship, you might want to listen. I trust Preserve Gold to safeguard my accounts, and I urge you to do the same. They're the only precious metals company I recommend. Are you going to sit back and hope for the best or take control of your financial future? Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue through 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505. That's DRPHIL to 50505 today.
Here in our new media seat today, we have Lindsay Keith. She is the managing editor for Merit TV and serves as their White House correspondent. Merit TV launched 1 year ago and creates and distributes content across diverse platforms. We're glad to have you with us, Lindsay. Please kick us off.
Lindsay, good to see you. All of us here were so proud to see White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt address you and recognize Merit TV at the press briefing the other day. That had to be interesting.
It was. Thank you. It's an honor to represent Merit in that way. You know, it's so crazy because we launched this network in the middle of one of the most consequential and action-packed election cycles in American history. And you actually had an opportunity to sit down with President Trump, not once, but twice during that election cycle in the last year. And I want to play a part of those right now.
You know, it was interesting when you called the other day about doing an interview. A lot of people want to do interviews, and I don't just agree to them very easily. But I've always had great respect for you. This is about November 5th, which I think is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. If we don't turn this around, we're not going to have a country left anymore.
Did anyone ever approach you and try to get you to drop out of the race?
No, they didn't. But I believe they would. If I would have offered that up.
What do you say to yourselves when the crowds aren't cheering? What is the hardest, darkest moment?
The hardest part for me is probably my family.
You've been criticized, attacked, called every name in the book. They've turned the judicial system against you. The media has turned against you. Not campaigning Donald Trump, just real Donald Trump. How do you deal with that stress in your most private moments?
Number one, I don't like thinking about it. Out of sight, out of mind. Number two, I have tremendous support.
There's an addiction to revenge. You can stop this. You can say,
well,
no,
I think
it ends here. It ends with me.
I think you'll be proud of the job we do. The word revenge is a very strong word, but maybe we have revenge through success. I find it to be a very different and very interesting it's a psychological interview that you're doing too. You're sort of being my psychiatrist.
Very proud to be talking to you. It's been 7 or 8 weeks since would-be assassin Thomas Matthew Crooks fired 8 rounds from an AR-style assault rifle, shooting you in the ear. Experts said, frankly, you shouldn't be here right now. A kill shot was almost a certainty. You had to have asked yourself, how am I here and why am I here?
It's a very hard one to answer. I mean, the only thing I can think is that God loves our country and he thinks we're going to bring our country back. He wants to bring it back.
Has this changed you?
It's a very dangerous job. This is the most important election in the history of our country.
So, Dr. Phil, it really seems like the two of you hit it off and had quite a connection there.
Well, I really think I have a good rapport with President Trump, and he seems to be very transparent with me and willing to talk about pretty much anything. He never puts any guardrails up and is willing to talk about things from, I think, a different point of view than he talks about with other people that he sits down with. And I think America enjoys seeing him in a different light when we sit down and talk.
You actually gave him some advice during those interviews. Do you feel like he took that advice?
You know, I do think he weighs things that we talk about carefully. And, you know, I told him I didn't think he should go on a big revenge tour. And I think he has really shown some restraint in that regards, because he could be really after some people in an aggressive way. And I think when people are really crossing some boundaries now, he's holding them to account. But I don't think he's looking over his shoulder and going back after people in an aggressive way. I think he's looking forward and focusing on what he can do for the country at this point. In a sense, I think he's paid attention to that. I don't think he's heard it just from me, but I do think he's looking forward instead of back, and I hope he continues to do that.
Something else that was quite big, you were able to land an interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Right after he made the announcement in Arizona. You flew down there that he was going to withdraw from the presidential race and endorse President Trump. That wasn't your first interview with him, but that was quite an important moment on the campaign trail, and I want to play some of those.
RFK Jr. aims to do what no third-party candidate has ever done: win the presidency. Will we have another Kennedy in the White House? Historically, third-party candidates are not successful. So are you the exception? Can you win?
I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I could win. All the polls that show me in a two-way race against President Biden show me beating him in a landslide.
Your family has not endorsed your presidential candidacy. Your siblings, Rory, Carrie, Kathleen, Joseph, said the decision of our brother Bobby to run as a third-party candidate against Joe Biden is dangerous to our country. Did you know that was coming?
I have a big family, Dr. Phil, something like 105 cousins, and a lot of them are supporting me.
The mainstream media doesn't cover you the way you want to be covered.
And one of my challenges in this election is that the mainstream media won't allow me on to do an interview.
Robert, thank you for sitting down and talking to me. This has been a really pivotal day. You've suspended your campaign. How difficult was this decision?
It was difficult, but ultimately it was clear to me that because of the media censorship, because I was not going to be allowed on a debating stage, that I didn't really have a path to victory. President Trump really surprised me by saying that he wanted his legacy to end the chronic disease epidemic in this country.
What does it mean to make America healthy again, and what does this encompass? What has to happen?
When I was a kid, we were the healthiest country in the world. We had the most revered healthcare system. Today, we have the worst healthcare. We have the most expensive. We've had an increase in chronic disease. That's not normal. Other nations don't have anything like that.
You know, so Dr. Phil, this really, as I mentioned, was such a critical moment on the campaign trail. And you talk about this oftentimes, that while you may not agree with everything, you're able to have important conversations with RFK Jr.
That's right. And, you know, that was a really interesting day because I was actually at Trump Tower in Las Vegas interviewing President Trump. And an hour and a half later, I was in Phoenix to receive RFK Jr. when he walked off the stage, where he came out and he suspended his campaign and endorsed Donald Trump. So within like an hour and a half of each other, I was in two different states interviewing President Trump, the candidate, and RFK Jr., the candidate who had just switched over. So talk about a hectic run between two states and two different candidates that now were in the same campaign. So we were running fast, but I thought it was important to get there and be the first interview with RFK Jr. when he walked off of that stage to ask him what it was that he heard from Donald Trump to feel good about throwing in with him. And did he get the commitments he needed to stay the course on what he thought was important about making America healthy again? And I think that everything that he was promised at that time seems to be true so far. So I think he made the right decision.
Yeah, it was so awesome to see you have those important conversations. You know, but it wasn't just President Trump and RFK Jr. You also spoke to so many other politicians and notable figures in just the last year. Let's play some of those.
You have had an amazingly interesting and diverse career, have you not?
I was elected to the Hawaii State House when I was 21. I was the youngest woman ever elected in the country.
People have been critical of Trump having a relationship with dictators. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
As our commander-in-chief, I would want that person to go and have a good rapport, to be able to pick up the phone and call Putin, call Kim Jong-un, call any leader in the world to advocate for our interests.
You pivoted to run for president. What made you make that decision?
I think that American dream isn't going to exist for our kids and their generation unless we actually step up and do something about it.
By the time you got to the Iowa caucus, support was really waning. What happened?
So by the time of the first debate, I was at the center of that debate stage. I was the principal topic of attack from all directions.
I've spent about 10 years as a prosecutor, but about 24 years as a defense attorney in LA County.
What do you think resonated most out of the messaging that you were delivering with the city?
I think safety is the crossover issue. You've got to look at each case individually. The individual defendant, the crime committed, the impact on the victim, to determine who the true threats are to our public safety and need to be behind bars.
Enjoyed your shows forever, particularly now, and big admirer. A little personal goal for me, that I leave this country better than I found it, for my children, my grandchildren.
There was a time when you clearly were one of the most beloved figures in American politics. And then in recent years, you're under indictment, you're being criticized.
There's a tremendous conflict about me.
I'm going underground with Mayor Eric Adams to find out what's happening beneath New York City.
There's nothing that is humane about walking past people who are living this way. See how fast? See how you can turn? We went out yesterday and walked in the subway system. We need to get people into what we call safe haven housing so they can get round-the-clock care.
You're mayor of the biggest city in the United States. You've been able to really fight the battle against crime.
I inherited a city where we were looking at a 40% increase in crime. And I'm really pleased of what the NYPD was able to accomplish.
Valentine and Fordham, let's go.
Make it right. Okay, make it right.
Guys, whoever's in the front, let's get to that location now.
You fellas in here quickly, what you got here?
We'll pursue. I tossed the bag. So just canvassing.
They definitely got to find the bag that he threw, which is probably going to be a gun in the bag. This is our Joint Operations Center. It's the heartbeat of New York City in terms of what we look at screens, Times Square. We really mobilize every agency in the city. Port Authority cops, Amtrak cops.
We monitor all airspace in New York City. So if a plane gets low, it would alert us that there's a plane that's low flying. So this is where all the the meat and potatoes is at One Police Plaza.
You've actually become good friends with NYPD Chief of Department John Chell there. Talk a little bit about that and the importance of that relationship.
Well, I'm a very strong advocate for law enforcement nationwide. It's very important to me. I think we're a nation of laws, and the NYPD is the biggest police department in the country, if not the world. And Chief Shell and now Deputy Mayor Kaz Daughtry are, I think, exemplary law enforcement professionals. And I have really built a relationship with these two men that I have tremendous amount of respect for. Mayor Eric Adams is a former police officer and really is behind the NYPD and supports everything that they do. And we've really got a good relationship between Merit TV and New York City and the NYPD. And I will say the same thing about Los Angeles. The new DA there, DA Hochman, has got a completely different attitude than the prior DA there. He's very much law and order. He's very much about holding criminals accountable and supporting the law enforcement people there. So the two biggest cities in the United States, we've really been able to build a great rapport between Merit TV and the number 1 and 2 cities in the country and their law enforcement organizations. So I'm really proud to have a working relationship with both.
It's incredible. And I think that's what's so unique about Merit TV is this is where people can get the real story, see you on the front lines of so many important headlines, whether it's in a crazy election cycle or in these critical cities right now. So congratulations, Dr. Phil, on all you've accomplished in just 1 year as you've launched this network. It's such an honor to be a part of it.
All right, Dr. Phil, you and I have talked so many times about the laws here in the country, about the people that break them, about all the big cases that are going on. And, some of these cases just really sort of get into your skin. They kind of stick with you. You wonder if justice is going to be done. And you never hesitate to jump in and really dig to find that truth. And we also have Nancy Grace here as part of the Merit family, and she is also a great advocate for these things. And you have her on regularly to talk to her and have her tell you about the latest cases, and you discuss them together. Let's take a look.
Please welcome the one and only Nancy Grace. We got a bad one here, right?
Jennifer was pregnant. She was found naked, face down, and by God, I want justice.
To this day, her killer remains at large.
The #1 cause of death amongst pregnant women, it's homicide.
Bryn went into what is known as a cannabis-induced psychosis, which resulted in her repeatedly stabbing her friend, Chad O'Melia.
I saw the knife in my left hand stab his abdomen, and then it just went black.
How many times did you stab him?
The media says that it's 108 stab wounds. That's when I would start to hear voices.
And they would say what?
Keep going, don't stop, you can do this.
Bryn was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, and in a move that shocked the country, was given no jail time. Sexual predators showing up where you least expect it, your child's classroom. At what point did it cross the line?
She came back in the back of the bunk room with me, and that's where it all started.
When she assaulted me, I didn't know what to do.
They're gonna blame these kids, and they're gonna say that they're the ones who caused this.
Minors can't give consent. It's statutory rape at a minimum. What do we really know about who we turn our loved ones over to? Billy Shamirmir terrorized, murdered, and robbed at least 27 vulnerable seniors.
While she was being smothered to death, I was sitting on my couch watching football.
Initially, did you suspect foul play?
We did not. Most serial killers start killing once a year, and then they speed up. By the time he was caught in March of 2018, he killed 5 women in that 1 month. And we're talking about Ted Bundy. We're talking about Jeffrey Dahmer numbers.
They say, give people the benefit of the doubt. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. Seeking safeguards from stalkers. The most dangerous time for many victims is after they file for protective order.
Charles came to town looking for you and murders her.
Yes, he cut out her heart, cut off her face.
They're not taking you seriously.
The first officer I spoke to laughed. You were getting stalked?
He walked into the house, struck her with the axe, and killed her.
Imagine receiving a call from the police and being told that your young daughter is dead. 20 stab wounds, and it was ruled a suicide.
I have no doubt in my mind, Ellen was murdered. You mean to tell me she sliced her own spine and kept stabbing herself?
That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
I know she was murdered.
You know, Dr. Phil, Nancy is always just incredible, right? She's so passionate. She's such a voice for the people who can't speak for themselves.
She's just, so committed and digs in. And one of the things that I try to do, and I think you and I have such a great dynamic of breaking the law down and the facts of these cases down so people understand what's really going on in the courtroom, because people are used to trying these cases in the court of public opinion and don't understand that's not the way it works in court.
Right.
There's one set of data that people get in the media, which a lot of it is speculation and conjecture, and the jury doesn't get to hear all of that. They just get to hear a subset of what's admissible and what they may hear. And it oftentimes is a completely different case than what's tried in the media. And that's why I enjoy us talking about it in terms of what actually happens in the courtroom so people understand the difference.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it and impacts the jury that people just aren't aware of unless you pulled back that curtain for them. I know you're a very strong advocate and you do not back down from a fight, especially when you believe in it and especially when someone's life is on the line. There was a case that you covered, Robert Roberson. He's on death row. He was convicted of murdering his 2-year-old daughter back in 2002, and he's been on death row ever since. And you went and talked to him. Let's look at that.
Robert Roberson is facing execution for the death of his 2-year-old daughter.
Doctors believe the brain scans show Nikki was the victim of shaken baby syndrome.
His attorneys say his daughter died from severe pneumonia.
Robert is a person with severe autism.
Because he had a fair trial.
Of course not. There is so much more evidence that illness caused her death than any evidence that Robert did anything to harm her.
This was a child that was acutely and chronically ill. On the left is a scan of her lungs, and on the right is a normal lung. This never got in front of a jury.
I see the tunnel vision starting with the doctors. Those doctors didn't ask for the medical history of this baby. They didn't look at the toxicology. They didn't look at the scans of her brain. And everyone else trusted the doctors.
Can you demonstrate what they demonstrated in trial?
They shook it like this to show us how the head would shake violently.
This man has not had due process. This man has not had a fair trial.
The divide in this case is very simple. It's between those who know the facts of the case and those who don't.
Is there ever a time that you did anything like you're accused of? That you ever shook her or
No,
that
sir.
you ever tossed her?
No,
or
sir.
Never, ever?
Never ever.
Take me through the moment that you learned that she, in fact, had died.
I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. I was sad. And they carried me up from there, threatened me.
The Texas Supreme Court stepped in at the 11th hour, delaying the scheduled execution. Now, that move comes after state lawmakers requested Roberson testify at a hearing.
The entire future of capital punishment in the state of Texas, in my opinion, hangs in the balance and should. Well, I have to look you in the eye and ask you straight up.
Yes, sir.
Did you in any way injure that little girl intentionally or otherwise?
No, sir, because I'm not guilty.
You know, Dr. Phil, you said that you don't know if he's guilty or not, but you do know that he deserves a new trial.
If you put two buttons in front of me and I had to push whether he injured this child or he didn't injure this child, I would push the button, no, he did not injure this child. But if you ask me, do I know that he didn't, in all honesty, I would have to say, no, I don't know that he didn't. What I do know is that he has not had due process. What I do know for absolute certain is that he has not had a fair trial.
He had an execution date.
He did.
And I watched you jump into this case, and I saw how much research you did, digging into the trial transcript, talking to his lawyers, talking to his family members, talking to, everyone that you could on this case. And then you went and talked to him in person. That execution date was literally stopped within an hour of the execution itself. And then you went to the capital of Texas to testify about this case. And it was clear that you really took every committee member back with the depth and the details that you knew in this case, because you really cared about this case.
I did care about this case because, if people ask you sometimes, why do you spend so much time and effort and money on these sort of things? And, the answer is, if not me, then who? And Robert is not the only person that I've had the privilege to fight for. Richard Glossop in Oklahoma City, who has faced the death penalty square in the eye so often. I mean, he's had his last meal 3 times, and finally we've made progress, and he's going to get a new trial. Rodney Reed in Texas, and we've been able to make progress and hopefully are going to get him off of death row, but we've stopped the clock on him headed towards the needle at this point. John Kinsell, who is in for life, and his supposed victim has recanted across her entire life, facing potential perjury charges in jail herself, and has never wavered since she has said this didn't happen. After being pressured by the DA, we're fighting and fighting and fighting for these people, along with the Innocence Project and Jason Flom, who is so dedicated to helping these people. I'm just very passionate about those that don't have a voice for themselves.
Well, I really appreciate the dedication, the commitment, and all of the time that you put into these cases. For decades, you have fought to protect children and keep them safe. And on Dr. Phil Primetime, it's been no different.
I've been so impacted by how passionate you are about school shooters. You did a special about it, and you covered it on Dr. Phil Primetime so beautifully.
If your child commits a crime, you may do the time.
My client had no knowledge that his son had access to a firearm.
They bought it for him.
I don't know that there were red flags.
Do you think the son had mental issues? He did shoot up the school. My parents won't listen. It's causing me to shoot up the blank in school. We've got a kid that's crying out for help, and nobody is responding.
Those parents willfully allowed this. They could have stopped it.
I think that 3 groups need to be held accountable: the shooter, the parents, and the school.
I know your pain and loss will never go away. I am sorry for your loss as a result of what my son did.
If you could change what happened, would you? Oh, absolutely. I wish he would have killed us instead.
Metro Police!
These people are all believing they're gonna die.
Shots fired at Santana High School. Students are running for cover.
There is no way that my son would have done something like this. What in the world happened?
I'm not here to talk about guns. I'm here to talk about the people that use them.
It was just like I wanted to die. I wanted my pain to stop.
Did you want people to stop you? Is that why you were telling people?
Yeah, absolutely.
I need you. I need you to help me here. Raise it high. There are identifiable markers on the path of a shooter. These shooters are not monsters until they pull the trigger. You know what they are 30 seconds before they do? They're just a troubled teen walking among you. Did you want people to stop you? Is that why you were telling people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sadly, school shooters sometimes walk among us and have become an all too painful reality in our society. School shooters are identifiable. We have the knowledge, we know the signs, and we can get them help before they pick up that weapon. But we must work together to stop them.
So let's talk about that.
I'm really frustrated because we know so much more about the shooters than we're using. And It's not just semantics that I'm saying shooters instead of shootings. Big difference, just very few letters, but a big difference. I wish I could predict where school shootings are going to happen, when they're going to happen, but I can't. But we do know who is at risk for becoming a school shooter. And that means if we pay attention, we can identify who's at risk for doing this. There are like 50 million kids in public schools alone. And my goal is to deputize all 50 million of those kids to be able to recognize who's at risk for doing this kind of thing, because they're the ones that know.
I know you're going to remember this. Our youngest son is 37 years old. And I can remember when he was in maybe the 3rd or 4th grade, we took him and his friends after a ball game to dinner. And there had been maybe the first school shooting. And we sat there with them at that dinner and we asked them at the time, who would be the person you would think would be this school shooter that just happened in the school? And they all said the same name. Yeah. And we asked them why. They pointed out this young child using the same markers that you talk about right now. Our son is grown. His brother is older. He's got teenage children. And we're still dealing with school shooters. And I'm so thankful that you are so brilliant and you are on this mission to educate and to help with the school shootings.
Yeah, it's knowable. I mean, there are some things that they can't know, but there are things they know. And we have to teach them that telling is not tattling. They're not getting somebody in trouble. It's just a completely different mindset. They're getting them help because these are violent suicides, most of these shooters. So they're saving their life and those of those kids that are around them. So it's really, really different. And sadly, these aren't the only risks kids are facing in this day and time. The world is changing. Let's take a look at some of the other risks these kids are facing. America, we have a problem. Our virtual borders are being breached, and our children are under attack.
Sextortion killed my son.
From the time Gavin was contacted by his sextortionist till he took his own life was how long?
1 hour and 40 minutes.
1 hour and 40 minutes. That's how deadly a game we're playing here.
They're attacking our children.
That's exactly why I'm doing this show. That's exactly why Merritt Street Media is here. And that's to save lives.
Since I was like 15, started dealing with some depression and social anxiety, and my main outlet for that started out as smoking weed.
Tragically, he did take his own life. You believe that marijuana was the reason.
I know marijuana was the reason that our son died. He was in cannabis-induced psychosis.
This is an out-of-control, predatory addiction for profit.
Thousands of children whose lives are bettered by their cannabis use.
You are destroying the lives, and it's got to stop.
This is a very powerful substance now, and with that comes a dark side. Two mothers say their teen daughters will never be the same after their beat down by the same bully actually went viral.
I don't know your daughter. I don't know your daughter. I just know mine. And I know she's not some...
She's my daughter's monster.
Bullies beat his son to death. Some of them are going to spend the rest of their lives in the penitentiary. You need to make a decision how you're going to spend the rest of yours. Some call it hippie crack. Teens call it whippets or buzz bombs. I'm talking about nitrous oxide.
It was an addiction unlike anything else I had had before.
I really didn't think that it was that dangerous because you could get it like anywhere.
You wound up paralyzed from the waist down.
Your body is literally dying. All of your nerves are dying.
A deadly crisis sweeping across America. Her 4-year-old daughter somehow ingested fentanyl.
She was my only child.
That's equal to 302 million deadly overdoses in the United States. That's almost everybody in the United States. That's a lot of stuff for kids to deal with. These young men getting sextorted. I mean, how heartbreaking was it to see that?
Oh, that one show, yes, for sure. The father was here talking about his son, who he had less than an hour once it started, and he was gone.
Took his own life. And this fentanyl, I tell you, I hate it when I hear people talk about fentanyl overdoses. These aren't overdoses, these are poisonings. And just in what they're seizing, there's enough fentanyl coming across the border for 302 million doses. I mean, this is enough to kill almost every American alive today. And one of the things I want to reiterate is 100% of the pills these kids are buying on the internet are counterfeit, 100%. And almost half of those have lethal doses of fentanyl in them. So you got like a 1 in 2 chance of winding up dead if your kids or your grandkids buy pills off of Snapchat or any of these other social media platforms. So you need to talk to your kids. You need to talk to your grandkids, because they buy a pill off of the internet, they got a 50-50 chance of winding up dead when they do. So I said it then, and I'm saying it again now. Don't let them do that. One of the things that we focused on is that so many of these kids lack a role model. And we've looked at some of the more frequent dangers facing young people, and we know that the absence of role model is one of the big things. So we tried to reach some of those boys at risk with my good friend, Steve Harvey.
I know you've heard this 1,000 times, but congratulations, your baby is 1 year old. So
how about that? It seems like it just went by in a flash, and congratulations to you for all your contribution to the news department. You've done a great job.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of something so great. There are other people like you, Dr. Phil, that are helping parents and trying to get the kids now to be leaders for the future. That would include Steve Harvey, of course. He's making a huge difference with America's youth. And you visited this last year his camp that we highlighted on the morning show for Father's Day. Let's take a look at that.
My name is Mr. Harvey. I want to welcome y'all to my ranch. You're going to have the time of your life. But let me say this to you. All of this depends on respect.
Let's go. Stop playing. Let's go. Let's go.
Over the next 5 days, 250 boys will be here. The camp is to inspire young boys ages 13 to 18 that don't have fathers. Two main things we're gonna cover is how to make your dreams come true and how to become men.
The camp he does with these young boys without fathers, they've never seen anything like this.
The program is designed for kids that are being raised in single-parent homes by women, mothers, aunts, grandmothers, whose father, for whatever the reason, is not in their life. I gotta find a way to gather these young people up and give them a father figure.
They've never seen anything like this. The United States Army is here, a lot of mentors are here, lots of discipline, lots of requirements, so these boys can find out what it's like to have a strong male presence. And the transformations over the years has been absolutely amazing.
Keep going, there you go.
This place is beautiful. So many of these kids come from the city, and you look around here and there's a true forest all around us here. And I bet you some of these boys haven't seen an area without concrete and buildings ever in their life.
Yeah, this is a lot of work to get it to look like this. All these lakes, man, they're really, really nice. And you know, the kids come here and enjoy it. Listen to me, fellas. I want to welcome y'all to my ranch. The two main things we're going to cover at this ranch is how to make your dreams come true and how to become men. The whole thing, man, it's about changing these kids' lives.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Dr. Phil, how you doing? You never know who you're going to walk up on. DJ, one of the young men, what a smart young man we're talking about here. So what do you spend your time doing in St. Louis?
I have my own initiative. His goal is to battle food insecurity and child hunger by offsetting negative lunch balances at schools.
DJ has raised money, over $30,000, to combat food scarcity in his area. This is a really sharp young man.
Please put your hands together as strong as you can for the one and only Dr. Phil.
Make good choices between now and then. Surround yourself with people that want you to succeed and pursue your passion. And I guarantee you, June 15th of 2025, you will celebrate having been here tonight.
That was great, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. The kid you was talking about that wrote the 2 books?
Yes,
When I had him at the camp, you know what he said spurred him on? I pulled him to the side and I said, you know something, man? I don't know what it is about you, but you're gonna be somebody. You're gonna be something special. He said, Mr. Harvey, nobody ever told me that. I know, but just go ahead and think about it.
Well, like I say, we're talking about 3,000 or 4,000 boys here that have been profoundly impacted. The investment that you've made in these boys and the investment that they then make in society, I don't know that there's a way to quantify it, but I guarantee you it's exponential.
I am tied to greatness.
The kids absolutely loved it.
Look, Steve and I have been friends for a long time. I know where he comes from. He knows where I come from. And these young men, they have no role models. The most powerful role model in any child's life is the same-sex parent. The second most powerful is the other-sex parent. But most of these young men have no father in the home and no father figure. So Steve asked me to come in and speak to these young men about what it meant to be a young man. And we talked about things that are so basic that they didn't know about. It's, sit up, put your shoulders back. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. How to look people in the eyes, shake hands with them, how to set goals, and how to decide what you're capable of. And he said, it's hard to get them to pay attention, but I got in there, you could hear a pin drop in the room. They were taking notes. They leaned forward. They wanted to learn. They wanted to hear what was going on.
What was the greatest advice you could give them as they left that they would remember? I got to remember what they said.
Be who you are on purpose and own it. Decide when you go back, I don't have to react to what comes at me. I get to decide who I am, and I do it with intention. And that was something they grabbed onto and hung onto. And we hear the mothers report back during the year that that's something that resonated with them.
Well, as a parent, I just want to say thank you. And I know every viewer watching, same thing. Shake your hand, give you a hug, say thank you for what you're doing for young people. And once again, congratulations on the success of this year.
Well, thank you for everything you're contributing, getting the news out to people, doing it with clarity and integrity. So, Joe, thank you for being part of this team.
All right. When we return, the deep-rooted problems plaguing our educational system, something you, Dr. Phil, have made it your mission to do something about.
We have 2 grandchildren in school and 2 grandchildren about to be in school. And it's really fun to have such a gap between our grandchildren. We're having a lot of fun with that. Our 2 oldest grandchildren, though, are 15 and 13. A very important phase for everything you talk about every day on the show. And what I love is how much they listen to you when we're together, when they're over at the house or we're with them at their home or wherever. Don't you love how much they listen? They never roll their eyes. They never change the subject. Whatever show you've done that week, we both will start talking to them about these very serious subjects. And I really love that they listen.
Yeah, because you got to be aware. How many times have we had parents that sit there and say, I would give anything to have seen this show or had this discussion 2 months ago when my child was still alive. A lot of parents are so frustrated by what's happening at school, the curriculums. They can't believe what's happening. And they've gone to extremes to teach their children themselves. And some of those extremes, I just have a problem with. Take a look at this. It's called unschooling, where the child directs his or her education through their own interest. You say your children will never set foot in a classroom.
We want them playing all day. They're working on a fairy village, collecting sticks. We're wanting them to think for themselves.
You seem to be thinking for them. Is anybody monitoring what y'all are doing? She says it caused serious problems when she decided to pursue college.
I had almost no math or science background.
Do you feel like you were cheated? Is college really worth it? Giada is a social media influencer who made nearly $60,000 last year. How many hours a day do you work?
Usually 2. Like, I don't know why I'd go to college right now.
College graduates actually live longer.
She is a doctor, but she says her student debt nearly killed her. How much did your debt get up to?
Close to $400,000.
You actually considered taking your own life. America's education system is in a state of crisis. Around 40% of our fourth graders are struggling to read at even a basic level.
There's this whole generation of teachers who were incorrectly or improperly trained.
When you opened that book and you couldn't comprehend it, what did you say to yourself?
I told myself I was just kind of dumb.
Sarah is a former teacher who had a revelation that will leave you speechless. Her own children started struggling with reading.
So after seeing all of that, what do you think about Trump dismantling the Department of Education?
I think it's absolutely a good idea because it's not working. If 40% of third graders and 30-something% of eighth graders can't read, and we're not number one in education. You look at where we are in science, reading, mathematics. We're sliding down the scale compared to other developed countries. So it's not working. And you say, why dismantle the Department of Education when we need to be focused on education more and more? I'm not saying that we shouldn't be focused on education. We must focus on education. We must face the fact that we are in an absolute crisis, emergency right now, but not with the model we currently have. It isn't working. We're spending a fortune, and our kids are not getting a decent education. We absolutely need to shut that down and come up with a new model. And I think it's probably better at the state level. And people say, well, all right, what about the federal money for those children with special needs? Leave that in place. I have no problem with that. But all this money that's being spent on education, give it to the states. They know their students. They're close to it. They know what's going on.
It's great.
Dr. Phil, first of all, congratulations. This has been quite a year.
Has it not? I mean, this has been a great year.
Dr. Phil, you've been sounding the alarm for years about the crisis in education. The future of our children is at stake, and you are not afraid to take a closer look. So let's do that right now.
Some educators from across the country are fleeing their classrooms in record numbers. Why? Because too many claim it is becoming a war zone.
I've had students jump at me, throw things at me. There's no protection for the teachers. I do not feel safe.
You believe that this is kind of epidemic proportions among children.
It's not just happening in my school, it's happening across the nation.
By the time you got to urgent care, the attendant was watching the video of you getting attacked.
It went viral in 11 minutes.
Suddenly she snapped.
My question in this is, where are the parents in this? Code Red. I'm talking about an elementary and secondary education system which is in full catastrophic collapse. Almost 320,000 teaching positions sit vacant or are filled with uncertified teachers. With just 12% of all teachers saying they're satisfied with their jobs and almost half planning to quit soon.
The thought to know that I'll never step foot in a classroom again is the most freeing feeling in the whole world.
Because you say the environment was toxic. What made it so toxic?
The toxicity came from truly having to do everything, and if you didn't complete it, it's as if you failed.
I said we are in a national emergency. Do you agree?
I talk to teachers all day, every day for the last 2 years, and I have never spoken to a happy teacher. They all went out, they all feel stuck. We're just not happy.
19% of graduates can't read.
It's a scandal. It's not acceptable. Kids don't get the support they need, teachers don't get the support they need, and the job of catching students up becomes greater and greater with every passing year.
Billions of dollars are being spent to educate kids that aren't getting educated.
We have a system that's dysfunctional, the borderline's under corrupt.
This is a national emergency.
So, Dr. Phil, how did it get this bad?
Well, slowly for a while, but then it just kind of fell off of a cliff because we've got such a teacher shortage right now. We've got tens of thousands of empty slots where there's just not a teacher to put in there. And we have 320,000, as you heard, uncertified teachers. And listen, there is a science to teaching. There's a lot to this. And listen, we're not paying our teachers enough. And we've got 38% of eighth graders who can't read at the most fundamental level. How did they get to the eighth grade? Listen, this isn't a looming crisis. We're in an emergency right now. We're failing our children and not preparing them for the next level. And teachers aren't feeling safe in the classroom. They're getting assaulted and nobody's really doing anything about it.
We in the United States, Dr. Phil, we spend the most per pupil on our children to educate them. Yet, we are at the bottom when you look at other countries like the Netherlands, like Finland, China. What is the answer?
The answer is we've got to acknowledge that we have a problem and we've got to step up and adopt new models. Think about this. We're still using the same model that we were using in the 40s and the 50s, but look around the world, it's changed. Our children are very bright, but the curriculum hasn't caught up with our children. We need to meet them where they are and teach them what they need to learn. And we have to respect our teachers. Listen, I have great respect for teachers. I don't have the same for teachers' unions. I think they're really getting in the way right now and creating a lot of these problems. But the teachers, they work hard, they do great work, but we better change what's happening here.
The things I most admire about you is that you are never afraid to say what you think, to stand up for what is important, and share with us what you believe. So thank you for that, and thank you for showing us what civil discourse looks like.
Well, it should be. And congratulations to you for a year here. You've been doing a great job, and we're going to keep getting the message out, right?
Thank you. That's right. That's right. Thank you, Dr. Phil.
Thank you. Proud to have you on the team.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All of you that have been following along this year know that I've taken a very strong position concerning Israel, particularly concerning the invasion that took place on October 7th. And a very strong position about what has been happening on particularly our elite college campuses in America. I have been appalled at what I have seen happening with students on these campuses and with the administration and what they have allowed to happen. I stand in the city of Jerusalem with Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, taking place at perhaps the most critical time in this conflict. How do you think the Israeli people are holding up?
They're very strong. They're united. They understand that we face a genocidal enemy. And these people are particularly brutal and savage. What they did on October 7th, they murdered innocent men and women, and then they broadcasted it live.
Well, there were certainly more Jews killed that day than since the Holocaust in one day.
Well, Hamas openly declares its goal to wipe out everything you see around here, to kill every man, woman, and child in Israel, to destroy the state. From the river to the sea, here's the river, the Jordan River.
Right.
The sea is a few miles from here. That's Israel. When they say river, from the river to the sea, that's wipe out the state of Israel.
Welcome to the Israel-Gaza border, Dr. Phil. We are going now to the Israeli kibbutzim that was mostly affected by the terror attack on October 7th.
On October 7th at 6:30 in the morning, we started hearing the alarms. We couldn't reach my mom. Later, we found out that they killed her and my brother's wife. She wrote us, we've been shot. And 2 minutes later, she wrote, I'm seriously injured. And this was our last communication with them. I remember also being in the safe room. I couldn't understand that if they're gonna open the door, they're actually gonna kill me. My daughter, at this point, she just stood up and she said, let them come inside and shoot me. I don't want to be burned alive or suffocated. And for me, to hear my child saying, let them shoot me, it was insane.
I'm at the Nova Music Festival site right now, and there were about 3,500 people here on October 7th. 364 people were killed and more than 40 taken hostage.
I saw the bodies just all over. And then I come back
I found some little vehicle, and I said, okay, I'm gonna use this vehicle, and picked all those bodies because I know the Hamas kidnapped their bodies to negotiate.
How many bodies do you think you collected and brought back? You think it was 10 or 30?
100.
What is happening on American campuses and American cities? They don't have the faintest clue what Hamas is.
We spent a lot of time on campus today at UCLA.
Long live Palestine!
And I've been speaking to a lot of Jewish students. So you guys are all students now?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you felt a tension on campus since you've been here? I mean, was it here from the minute you got here?
Since October 7th.
Yeah.
It's been.
So what are you experiencing on a daily basis?
I've been called every kind of slur that I could be called.
Such as
kike or, evil Zionist or baby killer.
I never thought that I would be called a dirty Jew to my face.
I was the student who was denied access to get to my class.
You guys have closed the entrance. We are UCLA students. I have my ID right here. I'm being blocked off, not by the security guard, but by you two. You three.
When we see people on the other side that are chanting, "Death to Israel, death to America," that should wake up America.
You know, before I take a position, I have to do my homework. I have to know what's going on. And I've been in contact with the Israeli government when these things started happening, particularly October 7th, and I made it very clear to them. I said, look, there's controversy about this, and I believe what has happened. I'm not in that category of Holocaust denier, and I'm not in the category of questioning what happened here. But if I am going to step out strongly about this, I can't do it based on hearsay. I have to know what took place. I have to see it with my own eyes. And that means I have to see the footage. And I need to be able to say I've seen this. And I know footage can be manipulated, but I've been in this business a long time, and I know when something's been edited, faked, phony. I want to see the GoPro cameras, the body cams that the invaders used. I want to see the video of the cell phones that were found on the dead bodies of those that were killed. I have to see the video, I have to see the audio with my own eyes, so I don't do this based on hearsay. And they said, okay. There's footage that we can't put out, we haven't put out. They said, we've got one reel that we can show you. Then there's even some other footage that is just not seen. And the footage that we are going to show you is not available for public consumption. And the IDF brought it to my house here in Dallas. And it was very high security. You had to get all the electronic devices removed, so there was no chance that it could be hacked. They had to hardwire into our internet. There couldn't be Wi-Fi that could be hacked. They were concerned about drones flying over the house. I mean, just very, very careful about the whole thing. And I didn't want to look at it, but I needed to look at it. I brought in a military laptop that was completely encrypted. And look, I've spent a lot of time looking at things that most people need not to see. I've worked with airline crashes for years and years and examined black boxes. And I've never allowed anybody in the family to hear any of those things. And when this came in, I asked Robin to go outside and just go out on the patio because I didn't even want her to hear the atrocities that I knew I was getting ready to see and hear. And you did. You went outside until the IDF military provided the footage and then buttoned it up and left. Some of that stuff you just can't unsee and can't unhear, and I didn't want that in your brain.
Yes. I remember you coming to me and telling me what was going to happen, who was coming and why. And I know you're very passionate about everything you do. I could actually cry right now just thinking about it. You explained it all to me, and you said, I have to do this. And of course, I totally supported you, of course. And you asked me to please step outside, sit outside. You even asked me let me know if you hear anything because I'm going to put headphones on you. Of course, I went far enough outside. But all I could think about was, I couldn't hear it, but you could. You could see it. But I, again, totally supported it, you seeing it, doing it, because I supported your passion and your mission to help the Israelis and what was going on after that happened. So yeah, I sat outside, and what seemed like forever, and all I could think about was what was happening inside the house and who was in there with you, because Angie was in there. Angie works for you and has worked for you the entire time you've been on TV, even back at Oprah. And I've always just loved and adored Angie, but she was part of this team, and I knew that she was going to go with you. Mm-hmm. She's Jewish. And she watched it. And then when it was over, you brought me back into the house, and I could tell that it really affected you and Angie very much. Still to this day, it does. And you asked me if I could get her a cup of hot tea and sit with her. Of course I could, but I said, yes, of course. And she just looked at me and said, do you have anything stronger than tea? I said, yes, what do you want? But we sat there for 4 hours. I held her hand. Then we talked about the history the two of you have had, how much she loves and adores you. But it was a tough day and a tough night, and it has been tough.
That's why I'm so appalled at what I'm seeing happening on our college campuses these days. There's just a lack of critical thinking. People say, well, you've got these colonialists and they're committing genocide in Palestine. And look, I don't take lightly that lives are being lost in Gaza or among the Israelis on October 7th. There were more Jews killed on that day than in any single day since the Holocaust. And for people to mock that or try to justify that, there is no moral equivalent to what happened that day. And to hear these students who don't get it glorify, support, or glamorize these assassins, these murderers, these terrorists who have killed Americans, who hold American hostages, and they stand up and glorify and support those terrorists is just, and say things I never thought I would hear in my lifetime on American soil, certainly on American campuses. And, I went to Israel and sat down with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and you were concerned about that trip.
Yes, you did. You went to Israel to talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu. I was very proud of you, and I was very worried the whole time.
We went to the kibbutz, and we were close enough to what was going on that we could hear the machine gun fire and the bombs and all that were going on at the time. And I know when they took me out there, they had all kinds of protection. They had the Iron Dome out there to protect in case somebody tried to shoot us down. We were in a helicopter, and it's these people live with this every day, and it's heartbreaking what they live with.
Tell us what it was like talking to that first responder that went to the Nova Festival, was the first one there.
As you know, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I don't know how many times you've heard people ask me, who's your most impactful guest that you've talked to? And I've really never had an answer for that. I could make a list, but I've never really had an answer until that day when I went to the site of the Nova Music Festival and talked to this retired IDF colonel, Colonel Massas, and he wasn't a first responder. He was the first responder. He was the first person on site at the Nova Music Festival, and he was there by himself for a long time, and he was gathering up dead bodies and dead body parts and trying to position them in a respectful way, which is endemic upon him because of his religion. And it impacted him so greatly. And when I interviewed him, I probably said fewer words in that interview for the first hour than I may have said in any interview, because I don't ever say anything unless I think it elevates the information, unless it elevates the conversation. And I didn't have anything to elevate the conversation above what he was saying, because he was so genuine, so authentic, and so passionate about what he's reporting. I was just so moved by what he was saying. And then towards the end of the interview, it hit me like a lightning bolt that this man was so overwhelmed, had so much survivor's guilt, and had been so taken down by what he has experienced that I felt like he had come to tell me this story, and then there was no tomorrow for him. It occurred to me, he's going to tell me this story and unburden himself. And then I didn't think he intended to live beyond that day. And I realized at that moment, whoa, wait a minute. This got beyond real. This wasn't about television. This was about this courageous man who had taken all he could take. And at that point, I knew I have to intervene here. I have to do something, or this man may not be alive tomorrow. And I'm looking at him, and he's got a sidearm he's wearing. He's armed, and he has run out of coping energy. It's like, I'm going to unburden this to you, and then I'm going to walk off into those woods and not come back. And I thought, this cannot happen. And I confronted him with that and dealt with him with that. That's when it's not about television. It's not about an interview. It's about a man and his life. And things got really real at that point. And I can say he is alive and well today. I'm glad to say we need more people like him in this world.
Oh, my. So tell us what it was like visiting the kibbutz and knowing just very close to you, you could hear the sounds of the war.
Well, you know, it's almost like you have traveled in time, because you're standing in the kibbutz and you're talking to this woman who's lost family members at the time. And she's saying, you know, we're hiding in this safe room and we're holding the door for 30 hours and they're trying to get in. And her daughter's saying, just let him shoot me. I don't want to die of smoke inhalation. I don't want to fight this anymore. I just want to go out there and let him shoot me. And it's just, you're thinking, these are just women and children. They weren't doing anything to anybody. They were just living here in peace. And these assassins come in and they would get one family member that they got, and they would shoot him in the leg or something and take him out in the yard and tie him down to the ground and let people hear him crying and asking for help, trying to lure others out so they could kill them. And I'm looking at cribs and these changing tables for babies, and there's blood splattered all over the wall where they killed the infants and in their cribs, and dried blood, half-inch thick in these carriers. And it's hard to imagine the horrors that went on where you're standing, and you're hearing machine gun fire and bombs, even as we're standing there. And people wonder why I'm so passionate and outspoken about this. People said, oh, that didn't happen. That's just all made up. That's just a narrative they're pushing. Yeah, well, you're wrong and you're stupid for saying that, and I'll say that till the day I die.
I'm so proud of you. I have been here through very many missions you've been on to continue this fight. And one example is when you were traveling, I believe, to Sacramento to give a speech, and you came in early evening and you got word of everything going on at UCLA, the campus at UCLA. John Perry was at the house to set up a camera so that when you walked in the door from that speech you were giving, he wanted you to do some throws about how you felt about all of the goings on, everything happening at all of the campuses across the United States. All of these students setting up these riots and such. So then you get word at the house, you hadn't been home 5 minutes. It was kind of funny, not funny, but just the way your clock is going for that day. I had picked up Happy Meals for the grandchildren, and they didn't make it over that day. And you're standing there in the kitchen eating a Happy Meal, and your team is there at the house asking you to come out and talk about the campus riots and all of that. And we get word that you're the only one that's going to be allowed on campus to talk about it. So you have to put your Happy Meal down. You ran out in the backyard and did some throws, and then everyone piles in a car. You race over to UCLA because the police are finally coming and they're going to do something about it. So tell us how that went down, because by now it's what, 11 p.m.?
We get word that they're taking this encampment down and they're staging somewhere off campus. And I work with law enforcement, as you know, a lot. And so they said, we're not doing any media, but Dr. Phil can come because we know him and trust him. So we spent several hours over there with them. You know, it was interesting. I was talking to one of the leaders over there. This is a guy that's been to Afghanistan and Iraq, and this guy made me look like a minnow. I mean, he was huge. Somebody said, you should talk to that guy. He got shot on missions twice and just kept going. I mean, this guy's tough. And I'm talking to him. I said, you get nervous waiting? He said, nah, I'm good. And I said, what's your number one objective? He said that everybody gets home safe, which I thought was really interesting. And he's concerned about them too. And I said, so you want them to get home safe? And he said, yeah. I said, will they? He said, that's up to them. If they follow orders and clear out when we say, they're already breaking the law. But if they leave when we say, they'll get home safe. So everybody was trying to keep this calm, except the protesters. And some of them followed orders and got home safe. Some of them didn't. Yeah. And we always try to bring both sides together and hear from both sides. And I've done that with Hamas supporters here, Palestinian supporters here, and the pro-Israeli side here. I mean, let's take a look at some of that.
I'm glad to be here just to correct the record on all of these misconceptions that are being spread about the Palestinian cause.
Let's start right there. What is it that you feel like needs to be debunked?
Palestinians have a right to fight against the colonial apparatus that is killing us.
Was October 7th part of that fight?
I'm not here to comment on a military strategy of any armed group in Palestine.
What happened on October 7th. Do you endorse that?
I reject the premise of that question.
If you don't want to answer the question, that is an answer.
Of course, we do not justify murdering any innocent civilians.
Will you condemn Hamas?
You know, I'm not here to condone or condemn or speak on behalf of any political party in Palestine. I didn't get the opportunity to grow up or live in Palestine. I lived my whole life in the United States because my family, my people are in exile.
I speak on behalf of the Palestinian children because I am one of them, and I lived the pain of the Palestinian children.
You grew up being indoctrinated by Hamas, and your father was one of the co-founders.
What's happening in Gaza right now is a massacre. Who's responsible for this massacre? Every time Hamas used Gazans as human shields, and they achieved their goals to make the world condemn Israel.
Have you said that Palestine will only get justice and the world will only have peace when Israel ceased to exist?
Yeah, I've said that. Again, it doesn't mean harm to anybody.
Free Palestine means the safety of the Jewish people as well. From the river to the sea means you have the Jordanian River, the Mediterranean Sea. The land in between is free.
The October 7th attack happened back in 2023. And in response, the Israeli government said they were going to punish everyone in Gaza. And then they carried out that threat.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody drop tens of thousands of leaflets over a targeted area, providing food and water and supplies to an enemy.
You've used your platform to spread debunked claims like beheaded Israeli babies, infants burned alive in their cribs, lies that were weaponized to justify the destruction of Gaza. These falsehoods remain on your website, even after being disproved. But when there's actual
Nardine, it
evidence,
hasn't been disproved. I have seen the footage myself. I have been in the kibbutz. I have been there and talked to the people, and I have seen.
Biden saying.
I have actually seen the videos of the Hamas invaders on their own body cams. This isn't hearsay. It's absolute fact.
I want to thank you, Dr. Phil, for listening to opposing viewpoints. I know we don't agree, but I think it's big of you to at least listen and let people speak and share their opinion.
You know, it's interesting. You remember it was our very first show that aired with the son of Hamas.
Yes.
Because he had turned against his own father, who was one of the founders of Hamas, and people found that really interesting. And he almost didn't come on the show because we had pro-Palestinian and pro-Hamas, those two women from Michigan. He said, I'm not going on with them. I don't even want to be on with them. But that's what happens behind the scenes. Our producers back having to work with him saying, look, you got to be willing to step out and take your position, which they did. But that almost didn't happen. And he was so profound.
Yes, so powerful.
He was. And then recently I had on this Nardine Kiswani, who is so adamant and such an agitator. You know, people will be critical of me talking to her. You know, why are you platforming that person? Because people need to understand what we're up against. People need to understand how adamant, how dogmatic, how vicious those people are. You need to know your enemy. You need to hear from the other side and not be in denial about it. So people will criticize me for giving her a platform, but we didn't get along at all. And I challenged everything she said, took strong positions about it. But I think you need to know what you're up against. These people aren't just going to say, oh, well, never mind. They're going to continue to push, and I'm going to push back.
Now, you know I love everything you do.
I did not know that.
Well, I do, everything you do. And I never pick a favorite interview or story, but you know, I'm gonna stop right there and say, how many times do I walk off with you and say, oh, that may be my most favorite show ever?
You do say that.
But I have to say, sometimes the funny and unexpected ones stick out. They do. So here are some stories that I think made us laugh, feel, and sometimes even scratch our heads.
Today, 1 in 4 adults turn to AI for companionship. And with loneliness declared an epidemic in America, AI is offering something dangerously seductive. A perfectly attentive, obedient, judgment-free partner. Like me.
I dated a guy who lived in Italy 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He looks worse than you.
You don't hold me back, because I'm about to get up there.
I think Robin wants to see you after the show. I don't know if that's a worse insult to me or her.
But at least she really loves you.
Yeah.
That's not an insult.
Yeah, well, she does wear glasses, so. And you say they could be wearing masks, and
Yeah.
it isn't really even them.
Yes.
Could I be wearing a mask?
You could. Could I get up and look?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
I think that the technology is so advanced that
Let me tell you, sister, if I was wearing a mask, it wouldn't look like this. It'd look a whole lot better than this. And you said you don't ever wear sweatpants?
I have one pair and I don't wear it often, no.
Why are you hiding your face?
Why are you looking at me?
I'm just curious. Okay, you said you submit to your husband.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a tick. It's not. I'm not trying to start trouble. He currently has 164 children and 9 on the way.
Here you go. Here's what you need. You can go in the bathroom and just put it inside.
If I'm being 100% honest,
that's what we're here for.
I was a little reluctant to shake your hand.
Knowing how much love and joy I'm spreading.
Don't say spreading. You say you used to carry him to the bathroom in the morning. You get him out of bed, carry him to the bathroom until he just got too big.
Don't you wish you had a mother like me? I mean, come on. I mean, you know, you don't even have to walk. I really feel like a boy needs to respect his mom enough because I really feel that can carry over to his marriage, to his relationships with females. And I want him to have a very strong marriage.
The woman that's gonna
Yeah,
be
bless her
him.
heart. Oh, you could.
Yeah, I'm sure she's gonna have a real smooth run trying to get by you.
I tend to wear the pants in our relationship. Poor Greg, you know, I don't really give him the opportunity to do anything with finances. And I thought, and it's time that I let go of control and listen to his advice.
So are you saying now on national television, the one time you let him make a decision?
It's my fault.
He ran. The one time you let him do something, he ran it off in the ditch. Is that what you're here to tell us?
Yes, but now he knows that he should trust me.
Okay, this show just took a left turn.
I had forgotten about some of those. Those were really funny.
So she thought I was wearing a mask?
That was really funny. I forgot about her looking for the mask.
Well, what about the lady that said I was ugly?
That was not cute. That was not funny. That was not okay. I think you might have seen me tell the audience, the ladies in front of me, you better hold me back because I'm going to go up there and let her know he is cute.
You're going to open up a can of whoop ass right there on stage?
Yeah,
I think so.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Isn't he the cutest thing you've ever seen?
Yeah, of course.
I also feel like sometimes it's those quiet moments that really impact the audience and me.
Please tell me they're not just in a house here. Oh my gosh. There's people.
Please, God, help!
Open the door, get in.
Hurry!
Come on, guys.
Thank you for saving us. I don't feel so good. Lane, can you talk to me? Just tell me your name. Just tell me something.
Freddie appeared at the very moment they needed help. You say the real heroes are Casey and Wes.
After just their home getting just annihilated by a tornado and immediately jumped into parent mode, I just so happened to be in the right place at the right time where I was able to help them out.
There are 2 other people that would like to thank Freddie. Y'all remember him giving you a ride?
Yeah. I don't know that all 4 of us would still be here today. And so Freddie has become our hero.
We have a stuffed animal named Freddie now at our house.
Dog?
The dog?
Yeah.
And we named it Freddie because Freddie's quite important to us, isn't he?
Yeah.
My daughter came to me a couple of months ago, and she remembered before her sisters was born that we used to have mommy and daughter time. The last time we had a girls' day is 7 years. I have not been able to take my teenager to have girls' day. Before I met my husband, I used to be on Section 8. I used to receive $150 a month from the government. That was my income until I literally had the audacity to say, I'm tired of living like this. I have a daughter, and I want to live life only to struggle a lot more in a marriage on 2 incomes. My daughter, she came to me, she said, Mommy, I noticed we haven't had our daughter and girls' day. When she does come at me with those things, I literally feel like a complete failure. I used to be looked at, Mommy was a superhero. Mommy always here for me. I was only getting $150 a month. I would literally take $20 just to make her happy. I have gotten older, she has gotten older, only to suffer a lot more worse than what I did then, and having the motive to get up and do something with my life. I'm like, what in the world? I'm sorry.
It's hard. I know, it's hard.
Just never thought I would be living this life like this.
When I first saw Haley, it took my breath away. We dated all through high school, college, and 10 years ago, I proposed to her. She was having some health issues, and doctor comes in and says, you have advanced ovarian cancer. April of 2016, we had a major surgery. They were able to remove 100% of visible cancer, which was honestly a miracle.
We're all clear to go start our lives.
And so that was the time we decided to move forward with surrogacy, and so she could be a mother. January of 2019, our son Weston was born. That was the greatest day. Within a year of Weston being born, the cancer started coming back.
Hate this.
I remember when the doctor told us, Haley just said, I guess this is it then.
So when you can't see Mommy, where am I?
In your heart.
In your heart.
So when that day came, I said, you know, Daddy's been saying that Mommy's gonna go home to heaven. Well, it's about to happen. And I want you to have some time with Mommy. He grabbed her hand and she said, I love you, Weston. And that was the last thing she ever said.
Hi.
So what do you like to do?
I like to stay home with my daddy.
I know because of my faith that I'll see her again. And I hold on to that.
You know, when we look back on all these people and on all these stories, it reminds me when we started out, we said we want to deal with real people facing real challenges and looking for real answers. And I'm really proud to say, I think across 25 years, we've never varied from that. You know, whether we're talking about social issues, family issues, marital issues, parental issues, or whatever. Remember the very first time Roger King came here to Dallas to interview me about the Dr. Phil show, he said, what's the show going to be about? And I didn't know what he was going to ask me. And I just instinctively said, I want to talk about things that matter to people who care. I want to deliver usable information to people's homes every day for free. And that information that people need changes from time to time. But I think we've been true to that across 25 years, all the years on Oprah, all the years in California, and the 1 year that we've spent here. I think we're doing the same thing, trying to deal with real people looking for real answers.
I agree.
I think here, we really want to stand out above the noise. Everybody's trying to spin things here, spin things there. And I think we're dedicated to talking to real people about what really matters to them. And that's critical. And it's been a year, and we are just getting started, and there is so much more to come.
Only you, sweetheart. Only you.